Everyone's asking for the link. I'm like, fuck. I should never be allowed to be in charge of the calendar. Like, just not allowed. Not allowed. Yeah.
Also fix the dashboard.
Hey, Nikki. I can't hear you.
Hi.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. How's your summer been?
So far, so good.
What?
Oh, look, we've got multiple call recorders. It is grain-alific up in here. Hey, guys. This is fascinating. Look, we've got Kate's grain recorder. We've got Mike's grain recorder, but they're not on here. Where are they? This is like a grain recording all sorts of things. Dun, dun, dun. Let me see. Hey, Mike. Mike, your grain recorder showed up before you. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Babe.
I can hear you
All
loud and
right,
clear.
cool. All right.
There we go.
All All right, Mike, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I was like, look how many grain recorders we got up in this.
Hey, that's awesome.
I was like, the recorder showed up before the people. It's
I
like,
love it.
all right, cool. Well, we'll let a few of the humans get in here. That'll be good. Got a few others coming on. I did not realize that the Zoom was not in there till like 5 minutes before, so I apologize. It's like it's very. I could pretend I was like, no, it's very VIP. We sent it to you just 5 minutes before. But yeah. Well, Mike, I am so excited that you are here to join us. This is so cool.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me and being able to talk to such a great group.
Yeah, no, we've been definitely geeking out. I've been geeking out on all things grain, so I know people here have been geeking out too. So,
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah.
I geek out as well. So this is
Yeah.
fortunately my job to do so.
Cool. So just to kind of give you and everybody else who's their first time here, kind of a little lay of the land. This is usually just a really kind of super authentic conversation about scaling a business, kind of like what the ins and outs are. I get to kind of ask all my questions at the beginning because well, it's my group, so I get to do it. And then I open it up to the rest of everybody, and people are usually pretty good about just kind of like unmuting themselves and asking a question or using the chat, and they kind of wiggle their way in here, and we just talk about teams, scaling, tech, all the things. Yeah, that's kind of it. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions before we just kind of dive right in? And then we'll see a couple of people come through later on. Yeah. So Mike, thanks so much for just like having us here. And I know you guys, you're kind of like at V2, and this is like, you're scaling the business. So I'm gonna just jump right in and be like, what do you think are the biggest challenges right now of scaling?
Yeah, I would say it all depends on the business. And I can answer with very specific, ones for grain.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that they end up being, generally applicable. I would say our biggest challenge right now is pretty specific, but it's, I think it is pretty universal. Getting people that gain awareness of grain and understanding of grain to understand exactly how to use it and get the value out of it that our more established users have been getting for a really long time. So it's like kind of that new user activation and getting those folks to just instantly see the light. Some people describe it as quote unquote time to value.
Mm-hmm.
Of how long does it take until I understand what this product or service can do for me. And the longer that takes, the lower your activation rate is going to be and the more churn you're going to have in your funnel. And so we have fantastic, engagement and retention and expansion, but we're just really trying to focus on getting the largest percentage of people whose attention we are able to gather to actually have success in getting up and going.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And how has it been, with like hiring the team? Because you guys have, like, what does the team structure look like, and what does it look like right now? Because I think you guys are using a couple, like, I remember talking to Max, and I know you guys have using like Market or Hire to hire some peeps and a couple of other channels.
So we've done like kind of two main hiring waves right on the back of raising some funding. And so I've used recruiters, I've used, sorry, it's getting a little hot in here. Let me turn on my fan.
Yeah, you're all good.
There you go. I've used some recruiters. Generally what we found is just the network. We found the best people through those we already have, people that they know, that they really enjoy working with, and that, are sold on working with people that they like working with and believe in what we're doing and what we're building. And so I would say at least 60% of our hires have come that way. Just through that, hey, we're hiring, who do you know? recruit them to come and work with us. And then we've used kind of a smattering of other things like like Matt mentioned, market or hire. It was a really fast, easy way to get somebody in and get up and going. And there's not a lot of like vetting that goes into that process. So I think that it's a specific tool to use for specific reasons at specific times, because it's really more about just like getting someone in fast. We've used recruiters in times past and found success there. Although the downside of recruiter is you end up, pulling, you use them, you can hire people, and if that person doesn't work out, then you're still kind of on the hook for the recruiting fee, and you're not still even employing that person. And so we've had that happen once, which is, unfortunate, but, I think the bigger problem there is less the recruiting fee and more the fact that, there was a hire that didn't work out and like improving your process there. So as we scaled the team, it's tend to come in kind of like bursts as we raise new funding. We do this big hiring blitz, and then we kind of settle in with that team. We get going, get to the next milestone, and then go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what kind of positions have been like in these blitzes, right? So like at the beginning, like what was kind of like the core positions that you hired for, and then like in the second blitz, what were the positions? And I guess kind of piggybacking off that, are there decisions you wish you would have made differently, right?
Yeah, I'd say we as a software company have really invested in software and engineering and product-led growth. And so that's the majority of the hiring that we've done from day one in the business. So it was me and Jake, my co-founder, who's also my brother. We hired our CTO right out the gate. He's part of our founding team, an engineer, another engineer, another engineer. Our designer was on contract for the first year of the business, and I wish we would have had someone full-time for our specific business, because a lot of times products will just need like a nice little coat or skin on top from design. Our product in particular needed this like deep, rich, modeled, UX that was rooted in reality and affirmed value and usability. And so we lost a lot of time by not hiring properly for design early on. We made that investment about a year later, where we went all in on design, and that was awesome. And we now have like actually a really high designer to engineer ratio. We have like 3 designers and 10 engineers, which is kind of absurd for our stage of company, but it's something we really invest in. And then I would say the other thing has been, we haven't really invested in go-to-market. With regards to marketing, with regards to sales, we've been really kind of all in on this product-led growth, but we didn't make it anybody's job, whose job it is with a metric that they're trying to push, where they're kind of like, skin is on the line to push growth. And so since we didn't really invest in like marketing and sales, and then we also kind of did this, like it's everybody's job to help grow, what has ended up happening is that the product team is really focused on product value, because it makes a lot of sense. You're like, well, we have these customers who absolutely love the product. They think it's amazing, and we'll grow if we make it even better for them. But it's a very different set of fixtures and functionality and priorities that you prioritize, that you have to focus on if you're really trying to focus on growth. It's about, building in these exposure moments to where someone can discover the product, quickly sign up, get started, get to that time to value. And so I would say that if I could go back, I would have explicitly hired for that quantitative, growth, deep analytics, focus on making sure that those loops are in place and that they're prioritized inside of the product. And it's been really hard, because we even tried to layer that hire in like January. We hired someone who we hoped could like kind of grow into this role, but hadn't really done it before. And we've realized that what we really need to do is to hire someone who's truly done that before. But those are some of the changes that I think I probably would have made if I could go back.
Okay, cool. And I noticed that you're using grain, and maybe you could talk a little bit about, because I'm in that group. I don't know if anybody else is. I don't think so. So in kind of the grain Slack, and you're using it for like bugs, and you're using it for like new features, and it's growing into quite a community, and you're really leveraging that community. I'm curious to know what had you or what had your team do that? Why that channel? And how is it going for you guys?
Yeah, totally. So that's one where we've thought a lot about it from the beginning, and I've started these Slack communities and then ended up doing like shared channels between accounts when we did onboarding. I
Mm-hmm.
would be like, okay, let's, instead of having you join on like a community with everybody, let's just have a shared channel between your team's workspace and our team's workspace.
Mm-hmm.
And while that worked really great at first, what it didn't do is create any sort of kind of community that where users could learn from each other, share ideas, ask questions, make feature requests, and kind of really build a community around people who are trying to optimize the efficiency of information flow from their live meetings into their asynchronous tools. And that has been happening now. So when we did our like kind of 2.0 launch, which is really just a bunch of features that we just put together and called it 2.0.
Yes.
And so we made some marketing buzz around it. That was also when we kind of brought the community piece together. And so we brought the community in, and it's been great. You do have to attend to it. It is definitely a resource. There's a requirement of making an investment of people to be in there from your team so that it's not a total ghost town, right? There's proactive engagement. There's, there's reasons to exist and to be there, and having like a clear plan that's been mapped out as to like, why would someone choose to spend their time in this community when there's millions of communities they could belong in? And so there's still work we're doing to figure that out. But the more that we have reinforced the commonality amongst a group of people that are there and their job to be done, like you have obviously done here with this community of people who want to scale their time, right? There's something really powerful to that. And obviously Grain kind of is building on a similar, theme there of, well, you can scale your time by getting more out of the investment in your meetings. And so to the extent that there's a focus on a job to be done that the people in the community can relate to, the more effective that investment becomes.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel like there are parts of like either the customer service or the people or like do you feel like there's parts of the business that are leveraged better because of the community that you're building? Um right, because I
Question.
mean I feel like sometimes that like I can't answer every single question under the
Yeah,
sun, but the community definitely can, right? so
totally.
so and when I talk about the community as a leverage, um I really mean that as like a mechanism, right? And so I'm kind of curious your thoughts about that.
Yeah, totally. So I would say support and education has been the primary points of leverage. Is as a team, we have a limited number of resources that we can allocate to getting new users up and going and started and engaged and productive using Grain. And we also have limited resources when people run into problems or challenges or bugs. And so the community has, I would say, provided the most leverage in those two areas to our team, is that you are able to bring these people together that want the same thing and can help each other. And I would say one of the biggest themes I've seen in my career so far is the altruistic nature of people and their desire to be helpful. I feel like what I've seen is that people are kind of selfish on the surface and very generous deep down. Like, we kind of need to know why this benefits me. Why should I spend my time here? Why should I be interested in this? And then once you're engaged and you're, part of something, it's in the best interest to be altruistic with regards to your contributions and your help to a community that can have your back, that can provide safety, that is generally going to make it really worth your time to make that investment, beyond just kind of like the initial value of helping someone. There's also this kind of thing that you get out of helping as well. But that is the way that I've seen leverage happen, is really kind of channeling that commonality to help people help other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and I'm curious to know what, as a business, right? And you guys are a growing business. What's your tech stack right now? What are you guys using for project management tool, for automation, for sales?
Yeah. So we use HubSpot for all of the marketing automation, all of the, we use it also for our CRM on the sales side. Right now, we're mostly self-serve. We're doing a little bit of inbound sales.
Mm-hmm.
We use our own tool, Grain, for knowledge capture and information sharing, say clips of customers, et cetera. Information retention with regards to keeping records of those conversations and syncing them with HubSpot. We use a lot of Zapier integrations too, to like power the information going from here to here without having to rely on humans to do it manually. And so that's been our tech stack there. As far as like the engineering tech stack, that's I have spent time in my past as an engineer, but I doubt that's interesting to this audience anyway. We're pretty lean and simple. We're Intercom too, so we use Intercom.
All right, you guys use Intercom. What about project management? What are you guys using there?
We use Linear for all project management, even non-engineering and products. So like we use it for marketing as well. Like it's been pretty cool. Like it's like somewhere in between an Asana and a Jira. So it's got a lot more structure like a Jira, but it also is just like new and modern, like an Asana. And so we've really liked it. There's a fairly small startup still, the Linear team, and we were part of their beta program, and they're pretty impressive, and we've really gotten a lot of value out of the product. And then we just adopted Product Board as a means of trying to organize and share customer insights and tag them according to feature requests and being able to make sense of that qualitative data that we're collecting on a regular basis. We're funneling all of that into Product Board.
Got it. And then are you using anything specific for an internal knowledge base, or like a wiki, or?
Yeah, so good question. We have Notion for that. And as much of a fan as I have been historically of Notion, I will be honest that my love for it is waning. There's really two problems. One is that it is the world's worst document editor.
Oh my God, yeah.
In terms of collaboration and comments. Like it's just, the way they do comments is just horrendous, and they try to aggregate them on the block. And it's just like, I just have found myself going back to Google Docs where I can like I can know what someone's talking about when they're making a comment on the thing that I did.
Yeah.
After it's done, Notion's pretty great because now it's like pretty easy to share. It's got this like kind of hierarchy, but even that is starting to break for us because we've been using it for 2 years, and it's just a mess. Like there's not a lot of opinion that goes into when something goes to the workspace. So now we've just got like this, my private stuff is just like a giant mess. My shared things are a giant mess. My like workspace stuff is a giant mess. And so back when I started it and adopted it, it was great because I was just like, oh, this is awesome. And the amount of content to manage was really small. But as the team has grown and we've added more people and we've added more content, and there's no rhyme or reason or rules. And so it just ends up being like a total free for all on organizational structure. And it's one of the main things of value I got out of it was that it was like fixed version of Google Drive for documents. Like things are actually easy to access at a wiki basis. It really does now at this point require someone to like manage it, curate it, organize it. And we haven't allocated that investment. So it's just kind of a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk about like the meta process, right? Like having the process for the processes, and being able to have someone, or kind of guidelines to have and be able to kind of manage all that. I'll send you a video, Mike.
Please. And I love tools that like bake the process to the process in so that it's like not something you have to teach people. It's just like how the product works.
Yeah, as intuitive as possible. But yeah, with internal knowledge bases, not so much. All right, cool. Well, I have a couple of other questions, but I'll start opening this up to the group. You guys know the deal. If you have a question, just kind of unmute yourself. If two of you collide at the same time, I will pick the winner. And if you are, kind of like inching to ask a question you haven't gotten a chance to, stick it in the chat. All right, first come, first serve. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, I can ask more questions, so that's cool. All right, I'll keep asking questions, and then you guys can unmute yourselves. So I guess how do you have visibility towards the performance of the team?
We do. It's always a challenge, is a good way to put it, and it's always evolving and changing. And so there's things that have really worked in the past, and then you start to grow and change and evolve, and then it's a different beast that you're battling, right? And so those processes start to break and aren't as useful anymore. And so the thing that consistently for us has worked is explicitly requiring people to brag about the work that they do, take credit for it. Mm-hmm. It's shocking. I feel like most people are pretty humble. They don't want to like be this boisterous person, especially when, like the engineering and product led type of people. Like, oh well, it's just we did what we did. I did a day's work, and I don't want to have to like toot my own horn. And so I found that I have to say, you must toot your own horn. It is part of your job. And it's not really even just your horn, it's the horn of the team that you're working on and the work that your team did. And so we have found that is one way that really helps to kind of give cross-functional visibility, is that anytime something, and you have to have a very, in the process here, you have to have a really clear boundary line where that takes place. And for us, it's when things get shipped into production. So when it goes from across the point of being a project to delivered, that's the point at which we, on a weekly basis, sometimes it'll end up being every other week, depending on the deploy cycle. But whenever that deploy cycle happens, that there is like a change log of what took place and the benefit as framed to the user and to the company of what we did, as opposed to like, I completed these 32 tasks. That doesn't really succeed in helping people to get on the same page. Instead, it is like, we shipped, this project to the users that'll have this benefit, whether that's on the marketing side or whether that's on the, the product engineering side. And that is one area that's been, or one process we've put in place that has really helped to include, increase visibility cross-functionally as to like what people are working on. And it also provides opportunities to do more kind of serendipitous cross-pollination of like, oh, I didn't realize you were working on that. Let's work on how we can market that piece of functionality. That's one way we do it.
Cool. All right. Open floor, guys.
Go. So, hey, Mike, I'm Tamara.
Hey, Tamara.
So I will tell you, like, word of mouth and, talking to like people who, even some of my clients who are marketing people. I have a CMO who, when I told her what we were doing and how I needed to record this and why, and explained to her what Brain was, she was like, oh my God, you have to send me that. And, I think when you talked about that, like early adoption, like I definitely am the person you're talking about who's like using it some. And then only because I'm in with Juliana, and then I see this like Brain call recorder thing popping up, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. I don't have that. I don't know what that does. Tell me what that is. So, so that's really cool that like, you guys are totally aware that you have these like novice users, and it's like, how do you get them to understand this like next level of value and be getting that to them. You just were talking about something that Juliana is pretty much the only person aside from my team that's in here that knows this is a very crucial point for us. You just talked about that, like, we talk about the stress test of like, you load up all of a sudden there's like a bunch more like, shit there, and you see where the cracks start with the processes. And, when you said, then you have to start optimizing again. And so what has that been like? I'd like to hear somebody, because this is where we're at right now, is that I just came back on with Juliana because we got everything really good. Everything's clicking along, right? You're in that easy place where you're like, oh, things are good. We've got all our processes, everybody's adapting. And then all of a sudden shit starts breaking and you're like, why is this breaking? Everything's so good. And it's like, you've leveled up to here and then things start breaking again. And then you get it fixed, and then and it just, as you grow and you scale and, so I want to hear, like, maybe you have some story about what, something you can share, just so that I can identify even more, because that's where I am.
Yeah, totally. I think that, Juliana, it's definitely a nice thing that there's a recurring need for the service, right? Because it's a recurring problem that doesn't go away, and it's different every time too. It's not like you can just be like, oh, well, we'll just do what we did last time. And the best thing I can say is that after I come to a point where there's a recognition or a diagnostic that things are breaking that were once fixed, I, at that point, have to do a root cause analysis. It can get really easy when we're tired and we're stressed to get into the finger pointing game and being like, if this person would have just done it, then it wouldn't be this mess. Because when I fixed it last time, like, you have to just kind of have like an is what it is mentality and recognize that the root cause is probably not somebody like slumping in their job. It could be, but it probably is more so a recognition of the environment changing. And if you have in your root cause analysis, what you're looking for is like, what changed? Sometimes it's obvious and a lot of times it's not. But usually if you really get clear about what is the thing that changed that makes it so that the old way doesn't work anymore, it can become a lot easier to then optimize the new solution around making sure that that thing is getting addressed. And then when it happens again, same thing. And so after diagnosis happens, you kind of almost have to just like coach yourself into saying, this isn't personal. That's not like someone slouching in their job. Like, it just is what it is. It's natural. It's part of the process. And what is the thing in the environment that changed? Because change is inevitable, change is natural, change is good. And let's use this as an opportunity to recognize that we're at a new level now and we need to do things differently. But if we can know what changed, then we know we can have a better idea of what we need to do differently, as opposed to like the whole possibility and spectrum of things that it could be.
And yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Mike. And I would say kind of like the systems that you have, right? Like when you're just starting, are going to be really different when you're like crossing the 1 million and then the 3 and then the, 8. And then, you've got your kind of like 8-figure systems and processes challenges, right? Because you have different resources, things in the environment. I love how you put that, Mike, do change. And it's a natural part of the business as it's maturing, right? Any other questions? Feel free to unmute. Dun, 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 dun.
I'm curious. So how did you handle the balance of keeping the ongoing work happening at the same time as like trying to improve the company and the processes and such? Because that's one of the big things that we at Spinner focus on. We're a very small team right now. And I always feel like I'm in somewhat of a disappointed state where it's like I'm making clients happy 1 minute, and then I'm having to jump to another fire or challenge to ultimately try to fix the process a bit, whether it's making better improvements in our ClickUp project management system or automations and such. I'm just wondering how you've dealt with that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I wish it was I wish it was a solvable problem. I think that it's kind of also one of these things, like your systems, growing too much, that I have found a pattern that is the easiest times for me personally are the most stagnant times in the business. And so there's almost this kind of like false luring or illusion that it's like, ah, like at least I have like some personal, peace right now. But that's only a result of the fact that there isn't really momentum happening in what you're doing. Maybe you're in a research phase, maybe it's in a spin up phase or whatever, maybe you're all along. But what I've found is once there is like a pull from a market and you're in like a regular kind of washing machine of process or services or whatever it may be, that feeling you described, I totally relate to with regards to being like stretched too thin, kind of frustrated with yourself for like performing well in one area just to underperform in another area. I just have had that described to me as balls dropping, right? Like you're trying to juggle all the things. And the recognition that I have had, and it might not be the most optimal answer to hear, but it's almost at a psychological, giving you psychological rest, is a recognition that sometimes balls just have to drop. And they're still there. Dropping a ball doesn't mean it disintegrated. It doesn't mean that the ball is like gone forever. It means that at some point you have to recognize that there's too many balls in the air, and that in order for me to keep the rest, I have to let that one go. And then when I get more of a handle on things, I can kind of, go down and pick it back up as I get more bandwidth, as I get more resources. And so that is, I would say, as far as the solution goes, the thing that I have found is that when you are in a resource constrained situation to where you're kind of like, I call it like a teenager phase, you're, not a baby where things are like complicit and nice and casual and you don't even have to worry about money. Like, what's money anyway? And then you're not like a full, matured business that you want to be. You're kind of in this middle to where you have a lot of the problems of the adults while still not having all of the like resources. And those are times where you got to kind of like let balls drop, knowing that you with a very clear understanding of what the next milestone is on that maturation path for your business and what resources that you need to be able to kind of like, it's actually really difficult while you're juggling to bend down and pick that ball up. It's a lot easier to get yourself to the next phase and then hire someone to come in and pick up that, and then they start juggling balls themselves until you've got multiple people that are kind of juggling in unison. And that is a good, I think, kind of scaling path is, first of all, just like acknowledging reality that you've got to let some balls drop, and then recognizing, well, what resources do I need to pick up these balls and start juggling them? Because I can't pick them back up because I would have 4 million balls and that's impossible. And how do I make sure that we're laser focused on getting, from here to there so that we can make sure those balls aren't just like sitting on the ground for forever, because they're important. Like they wouldn't be a ball if they didn't matter.
Best ball analogy ever. Any other questions, guys? And ladies? Van, I see you in processing mode. You got a question?
I don't have a question. I was curious about how you manage your technical team. If from your perspective, because you mentioned about your engineers and we kind of have a smaller technical team, and I was really curious about as you grow and as you pull on more technical assets, like how do you continue to vet them so that you're not redoing whatever they build, so that you don't incur technical debt on, we don't have a product, but on our services and the products that we do produce, right? So I just kind of find that a challenge, and especially if you're not going offshore, be it like the Philippines, Sri Lanka, or India. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, so the question is how do you effectively manage an engineering team to reduce kind of technical debt and keep delivery speed fast?
Exactly, yeah.
There's been a very large amount of kind of like writing and research on this particular topic, and one of the books is around the mythical man month and the 2 pizza rule. There's this, the general rule is that adding more engineers to a late project makes it later. And because every single person you add to a machine is adding coordination costs. And so those coordination costs are not linear, they're exponential. So if you have 2 people, it's just one back and forth. As soon as you add 3, now 3 people have to communicate. And now 4, you've got, cross communication between all of them, and it's an exponential growth function. And so the 2 pizza rule is a recognition that like you can, without an inordinate amount of process and systems, keep things moving pretty smooth and fast in communication at a minimum when you have a team that can be fed by 2 pizzas, which is usually like 8 to 10 people. And be anything beyond that, you have to start adding in processes, and like you add people to manage process, as opposed to those people who are doing it managing their own process. And so we're right at that kind of like cuspy area with Grain, to where we haven't hired, a full-on engineering manager, but we have hired someone who is a project manager and does a lot of what an engineering manager would do, while also doing quality assurance and also not being as expensive as a full-on engineering manager. And in the early days, we didn't really need that because there was just like 4 people. And so depending on the size of your team, I would say that what I'm describing, if there's a feeling like there's a need to have someone coordinating, then I would really have to question the effectiveness of that small team and their ability to like self-manage and their mastery of the tool stack that allows them to have quality assurance built in, managing, their version control and everything that is part of the deploy process. And so if it's a small team, you really need just one person who's in charge of making sure that all of those systems and processes are scalable. And if you're lacking that person, then you're probably going to be experiencing a lot of inefficiency or miscommunication or slowness or bugs or technical debt, et cetera. Technical debt is also kind of just natural at this stage
it's a
too.
byproduct of a product.
It's a byproduct, and I think it's something that frankly gets over-optimized for at the early stage. Like what matters more is, do people use it? And if there's some bugs, and like there's a lot of bugs in Grain because we just try to like move fast towards the deliverables. We have these processes in place to where we don't want critical bugs, and we have retrospective processes, et cetera, to fix them. But failure is kind of allowed with regards to doing it maybe the wrong way, as long as the shipping cadence is high, and then you can make up for it with process over time. And as long as you have one person who's really taking that leadership role, I think you can get a lot out of a little.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it does.
I have a question. So for this group of people, I presume the majority of you are kind of delivering services to clients. Is that right?
Yeah. Almost everybody here is a marketing agency. Mark does course creation. Van's doing sort of a project management for technical teams. And then Trey, they're a hybrid of like agency plus kind of building product as well.
Cool, that makes a lot of sense. And one of my questions for you is, as you think about the video components of the services that you deliver, like this is obviously one component of Juliana's, a little bit meta here. What are some of the things that you do to scale that investment of energy and effort when something is happening over Zoom or in a conversation? What's been working for this group? Because we have those components at Grain too, and I would love to learn from y'all.
Woohoo! Group focus time. Guys, what do you? I'm gonna start picking on people. Tamara, how do you do it?
I know you were going to pick on me.
Oh, because you're fabulous.
Video, how we use video. So I would say, well, of course, we're using Grain. I use I'm using Brain for discovery calls and client calls. So sales, you know, if I'm doing a discovery, I'm recording it, and then I can go in and create clips, and I can use that internally with my team, who will help me to create the scope for the proposal. So, and then similarly for client meetings, so for brainstorming, or if there's things that come out of a reporting call that need to be done, that we can go back, you know, it's like the best, it's like taking notes, but don't need to take notes the way that Nicole used to take notes, which was basically almost like a transcription herself, because she's a really fast typist. And so that's big. And then for us, you know, I think, Juliana, were you alluding to me with my like meta, like the what, the how, the, when you said that earlier? I didn't know if you were, but for
No.
the wiki. So with the wiki, you know, we have a wiki, and most everybody, it's kind of a requirement that Juliana gets everybody going on their wiki. And that's like the how for us of everything that's done in the agency. And that has even like a sales section, a client onboarding section. And so we use Loom for our video recordings to record, whether it's on screen, how we're doing things, or just talking and, you know, saying how something's done. But then we have that, and it's kind of our database of how things are done. And it's much easier to, you know, update those than the old way, which is, you know, I've had the agency 10 years, and I used to have Google Docs SOPs that never got updated. So,
Yeah.
so this is the new and improved, vastly improved version of my Google Docs SOPs.
Cool. That's awesome.
And then Mark, how are you scaling video?
Apparently, it's going to start with me hitting my camera that's doing the video off to the side.
Mark, to hide, you have to actually turn off the video. You can't just turn it to the side.
Smack. Yeah, I still need to get through this Starbucks. Skilling video. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm turning people's intellectual capital into intellectual property in the form of courses, productizing expertise. And so to do that, the easiest way to get that information is it's going to happen on video. Either someone's pre-recording it themselves, or it's happening live in the form of like a coaching or training call or something like that. And so tools that are being used, it could be Grain on Zoom if it's like a live call, but if it's going to be pre-recorded, then it's probably going to be something like Loom for ease of use to be able to get the video. And basically anything that's going to turn spoken word into transcripts as quickly as possible. And then once it's in written form, then it's all about structuring that information so that it's readable, usable, so on and so forth. So that's a little slice of my world and where video fits into it. I can dive into any piece of that.
And then the marketing piece.
Yeah. So with marketing, video is extremely helpful for capturing testimonials on the fly. If you're just in the process of doing training, coaching, even sometimes in a sales call, testimonials can come. And just being able to capture that on the fly, and then being able to clip that. And then if you have a mapped customer journey, being able to slot those testimonials into the appropriate parts of the customer journey is an extremely effective way to increase conversion rates at any step, pre-sale or post-sale.
Mark, that was too good. I feel like a little intimidated by how much you've got your stuff together. No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah, no worries. I just try to read as many books as I can.
What are your favorite books for this stuff?
For this sort of stuff, there's actually this old book that you can't get in digital form, Marketing, the second edition by David Mercer. And it's like all these concepts of like customer journeys and stuff. I think it's like he wrote that book maybe in like the 1970s or 80s or so. And it's just a really, really, really solid book because he's a first principles thinker, and I gravitate towards that. So He's
Hence why
very
you're
structured.
here. This is a lot of first principle thinkers here, I've gathered.
100%.
But you can get the book as can't you get it now as a recopy or didn't they
A recopy?
like a republish?
A reprint.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked in a while because I have like a super old, like dusty version on the shelf. But yeah,
Awesome.
Also a really good one. It's like one of those like $100 to $1,000 books, direct response, copywriting the world. It's Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. That's and it's like the copywriter's Bible sort of thing. But it got republished, and the republishing, Brian Kurtz owns the rights to it because the author has passed away. But he brought the price down to like $85 to like $100 or so because
Breakthrough advertising, nice.
Yeah, reused versions were selling on Amazon for like $500 plus.
That's wild. That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, excellent book.
Shasti.
For video, we're still kind of working on incorporating that, but we are.
Are you sitting on a cat throne?
Yes, I am. Everything in the house is essentially a cat throne. Yeah.
Nice. I was very confused for a moment because the tail is wrapping around the edge as if it's like some sort of, kind of like it's baked into the chair. And then I was like, it's not symmetrical. The other half is a cat. No, that's awesome. Anyway, sorry, you were talking about scaling video.
Yeah. So we're still working on incorporating it. But what we have been using it a lot for lately is training and onboarding with our team, having links to videos rather than just articles on how to do things so that there's demos. And then now we're sending it out with updates to clients, especially the ones that we can't get a hold of. So instead of just sending them a summary, we're sending them a Loom video so that it's more interactive and they're at least kind of hearing our voice and we can walk them through some things. So it's ongoing process for us, but we keep kind of uncovering new ways that we can utilize that format.
That's awesome. That's really helpful.
Trey?
We've used a combination of Loom and then the newer ClickUp videos. Actually, we started with that and more just for internal documentation needs, just to explain stuff to our remote team, as well as working with a remote dev team on stuff, whether there's like some kind of bug fix that we need completed or done on an app or a client website or such. It just makes it really simple just to clearly point out that detail. The ClickUp thing is neat too, because it's built right into the project management system. The frustrating part about that though, is that they implemented a solution without any organization or hierarchy. And I'm sure that will come in some point in time in this, maybe by this year. But tied to that too, I think that's a general frustration that we all feel with lots of tools in the industry, including HubSpot. I know, Mike, you mentioned that we use that as well. And for as mature of a product as that is, and many others are, I'm noticing a trend there. They just really forget about some pretty basic organization hierarchical type needs of all of us scale more quickly. And so, but anyway, that's kind of getting off on a tangent there, but ultimately that's what
helpful.
Loom.
That's cool.
Dom?
Yeah, so I'll admit my video game is pretty weak, but I use Loom for some quick tutorial stuff, either for my team or clients. Specifically, the most I've used it for is guiding clients on how to give us access for their Facebook and Google accounts, because most of them have no clue about any of that in the dashboards. And I've been thinking about doing reporting instead of like typing out reporting, doing video records and sending those, but that has not been implemented yet.
Cool.
So that's pretty much it. And I use Loom for that.
Nice.
Grant?
Awesome.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, Grant?
Nothing much. Another day in paradise. Yeah, so the way that our team uses video, we use Loom to make short tutorials. Anytime that we have any type of questions that are easier to record as opposed to type out, we use Loom for that as well. We also use Vimeo to host all of our videos. I work for a Vanguard marketing group, and we actually have clients that we help do marketing for because we are a digital marketing agency, but we also have our own VMI, which is Vanguard Marketing Institute. And for that, we use Streamlabs to record everything. Once everything's recorded in there, I usually throw it into Premiere Pro to chop it up and fix audio. And pretty soon, I'm going to be using After Effects to add like transition screens and any type of other special effects. Of course, we use Vimeo to host everything. And aside from that, I think that's it on the video side.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's super helpful.
Cool.
Yep.
I mean, I can break my stuff down if you want, Mike.
Yeah, I only asked this to the extent that it's useful for the topic for everybody to learn from each other. So it's
yeah.
great.
So I think about sort of like client journey and then team sort of journey as like so from the client journey, starting with marketing, we like in terms of video, doing video on lives, so Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Right now, looking into a tool for streaming various like multiple lives at the same time. I think Yardstream is a big one, but one that kind of hacks LinkedIn right now is, I forget what it's called, remote something or other. I will let you guys know, and I'll put it in the show notes if it were. So there's streaming. There's doing static video. So depending on how I'm feeling, and like depending on how quickly I need to do a static video, sometimes I will use Loom for that, just because it's just really fast and you can clip the ends. Because usually I tend to kind of like take a second to get started and then I ramble at the end, so I need to clip them. And then I also will sometimes use Cloud App for that if I'm doing a screen share. For like marketing and educational videos, they tend to be on the marketing end. And then for prospecting, I'm using Zoom plus Grain. And the use cases around that is like if there's ever other decision makers, I can actually send them the entire thing. I can send them clips. Much to Mark, we can do stories for particular education pieces for the internal team and also for testimonials. For prospecting, we also have people do a diagnostic. And with that diagnostic, I tend to use Cloud App. The reason for that is because Cloud App now allows us, similar to Loom, where you can put a call to action with the video, right? So it's usually kind of moving them across the customer journey, like, hey, schedule your next call, right? And so that call to action is really important. And that's why I tend to utilize that. And then going into the client sort of journey, we use Zoom plus Grain for everything in terms of engagement, right? So for our labs, for our Tinker Talks, because we're then able to take notes, clip them for testimonials, clip them for training, and all of that jazz, right? On the team end, right now I am utilizing Zoom plus Grain for quality assurance, and that has been huge. Because not only can I, kind of take snippets and give guidance inside of the notes, but I can also create collections, topical collections with the stories, right? So like if I'm, teaching someone on what not to do, we might have like a collection of no-nos. If I'm kind of going through topically, let's say documentation, I've got full stories on documentations. In the future, what I would like to do is do sentiment analysis for both sales and our team, right? So any kind of internal meetings that are with our team, we can use sentiment analysis to kind of capture morale, right? So if everyone's kind of feeling shitty, there's a word cloud for that, right? If everyone's feeling super hyped, if everyone's feeling stressed, there's going to be, given that you guys create the analytics, right? We can then utilize that for both sentiment analysis, and then on the prospecting side, we can use kind of those cloud and organizational things to know what common pain points and commonalities are for sales. So that's kind of a future use.
That was awesome. That was great. I can share out too. I'm going to do an interactive demo live demo.
Woo!
So this is how I just used Grain right there for turning a lot of this gold into value for my team and for a lot of the other processes that we have. So this is my Grain notepad. And so throughout different times, as people have been saying amazing things, like I have this really powerful special fire emoji I throw on there, and I've mapped it with Zapier to push to a particular channel in Slack. So what happens is if I take a note at a moment, that note relates back to that moment where it took place. And when I turn it into a highlight, if it has one of these emojis on it, and so in particular, this is an actual like one that I took that I'm going to show you my team Slack. So that's the community Slack. But in my internal team Slack, I have been pushing those clipped out quotes into this channel for my team to have access to and to make product decisions around it, used for marketing collateral and asset, of course, getting permission if it does ever go outside, but at least like pulling voice of the customer for copy. And so in this channel, we're just like pushing gold into shared knowledge in real time. And so I'll show you exactly how that works. So in this case, I threw the fire emoji, I turn it on to a highlight. Grain will automatically make its best kind of guess around the timestamp when it was took of what video is supposed to kind of like be in that clip. And then boom, it just sent it right here. Zapier is like powering that like automated process. And so that's one of the ways that I use video to really, I would say, better understand. I really like the way that you put it, Mark. It was like turning I took a note on what you said. It was like turning intellectual capital into intellectual property. And that's what I feel like is the best summarization, frankly, I think I've ever heard of like why I am building this product. It's because we're just spending all of this time making these investments, and we're talking to customers, we're talking to clients, we're talking to teammates, and it's so silly that it would just disappear. And a lot of it is because we haven't put the planning or the processes or the systems in place up front that can add leverage to that investment of time that we're making. And so that's something I'm trying to do better. And I would love any suggestions or help or contributions from this community around how, Grain could better educate the potential. Like that use case I just described to you is pretty mind blowing. Like it still blows my mind that I can like slice out in real time and it's accurate. I didn't have to go back and edit the video. Generally speaking, I know that it's going to be pretty accurate. I can always modify it and try, do it later. Or someone follows up and it's like, can you make this longer? And it's like, yeah, I'll go back and make it longer, half a second. But I think that there's so much more we can do to help people like you guys who are short and strapped on time to get more leverage out of the investment that is spent in these synchronous conversations. Because obviously, like Loom is doing an amazing job in the asynchronous world. There's just this whole world of like time we spend in Zoom that just disappears and isn't leveraged. And I think that we need to do a better job internally of making it obvious how you do that. So if you guys adopt and pick up any of those workflows in the next few weeks, please let me know how you did it, and we'll turn you into the case study.
Like hearing you and watching you with that, like my mind is already like spinning of like, I'm like, okay, with the wiki, like we're going into Loom, we're doing blah, 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 but like we could be on a call as a team and one person could be showing the other person sometimes. And if we had Grain on and I had Zapier, have it connected and it was going into the wiki and popping it into that section, or maybe that's not possible. Like what are the integrations that are possible? Like, could we put it into, is there a way to tag it and have it go into our Google site? Because we use Google Sites for the wiki. Or if that's not possible, do we just have our internal, we don't use Slack internally and we use Google Hangouts, and everybody is like, just freaking switch to Slack. And so do we create a channel that is just like SEO training? PPC training, and it's just, and we're able to just pop it into those individual places, and we are not losing. Like you said, Mark said it so perfectly. It's intellectual capital, and when I'm on discovery calls, I'm giving strategy away all the time, every freaking day that I'm on a discovery call. I'm just giving shit away for free. My Sandler trainer a million years ago said, like, no unpaid consulting. And I'm like, well, I have to give a little or they're not going to buy from me. But we do this all the time, and it's just it just evaporates into the ether. So, and it's training stuff, it's selling stuff, it's strategy, it's creating the system. I mean, there's tons of it. So it's like, where's it going? How can I take it and just pop it into the places where I can go back and have it?
Totally. Well said. Yeah.
Do
We're
you-
putting templates together. Like we have like grain.co, like I can send a link over. It's like, we have a bunch of these workflow templates. Get this information from here to here, because in between is leverage, right? Instead of disappearing, you're leveraging and extending the value of it. We need to personally do a much better job. So you just inspired me. Sorry,
I didn't know that you could do, like, seeing how you're using it right now. I'm like, crap, like I need this. I need to use this at that at a more of a power level.
Do you have a knowledge base article or workflow article where you explain in further detail how that use case that you just demoed?
I do, yeah. So we can follow up with the list of the integrations. We built out a bunch of templates with Zapier. They're all Zapier powered right now. We're going to bring them in to be the core experience and be like native integrations, so you don't have to pay for Zapier. But I'd imagine this whole crew is already paying for Zapier anyway.
We're all Zappy out.
You're pretty Zappy people around here.
Yeah, I think I have like 20,000 fucking integrations right now with Zapier. I'm like, but yes, go for it.
Yeah, that's it. And then we have I have some like a help center article where I was actually on the phone with him this morning. His name's Guillaume Cabane. And like, you should actually have Guillaume on here.
Guillaume, didn't he do Lempod?
Lempod?
Or that's not a different Guillaume?
He's like an advisor to a bunch of different companies, and he does like consulting services. And so he's very much in this like world of scale time. And I was just talking to him this morning, and he's like such an incredible power user, and he latched onto Grain, saw the potential, and he's actually our #1 like content creator in Grain. He just uses it to death. But I was talking to him this morning, and he's the guy in the article that I'll send over that kind of lays out this template. And he was just he's showing me more ways of how they like scale their time by creating these workflows. And so in particular, and so this is subtle, since there's interest in this, I'll pull it back up. But each one of these emojis at the bottom is mapped to a workflow. So if I like throw an emoji, like we're Zappy, I thought that was amazing. That was really funny. And so if I want to say, remember that we're Zappy, send this to Steve at Zapier. And so I just throw in the reminder ribbon. And then when I turn that into a clip, I have a Zap that takes that clip and detects if there's one of these emojis that have been mapped to workflows. And then it will actually create a linear task. And so you could use ClickUp or whatever. But when I pull into my linear here, it's actually going to already be created where, so inside of my exact issues, so it looks like it's still processing, but each one, you can see ones that have been done, that when I'm in the moment and there's something that I want to remind myself to do later, there's like times where that comes up all of the time. You're just like, well, where do I put those reminders to myself when I'm going to do it later? I throw that little reminder emoji. And then I've created the zaps and the templates such that it adds the title of the note that I took, and it adds the transcript of the text, and then it adds the highlight to that moment so that I can remember later, like what I'm reminding myself to do. Or in some cases, I'll actually have my EA, she will do it on my behalf. And my emoji for that is this unicorn. And so I'll throw the unicorn and be like, unicorn, do your thing. Here's the context. And like, here's the clip. and then we communicate, in linear, the status of that project, etc. But what it has been really great for me is being able to recognize that I'm a type of person who doesn't have time to go back into these recordings later. And if I don't have time, I can't get leverage. So I'm bringing those workflows into real time when I do know what I want to do and I know where it needs to go. And it's probably not going to be perfect, but it's sure good enough. And if I need to, it can go back and I can make the clip longer or whatever. But it's really about just like leveraging and maximizing the potential of any meeting to actually turn into action, as opposed to what tends to happen with me, which is a lot of times the potential turns into atrophy or good intentions that never go anywhere. And so that's the thing that I've been adopting lately, and it's been awesome. I actually learned it from G.
Oh, that's cool. So I will take that introduction for Tinker Talk. Says I think that would be great. I am going to put in some workflows, because the thing that I forget, and then I don't go back, right? And then I have like 20 million tabs open of like, I have to go back to these grains, is utilizing the workflows for more educational content, right? Because I will say things and I'm like, oh man, that was really great, for a piece of content. And it atrophies into the ether. So I think that is really awesome. So I will be using that now more often. I know we are above time. Mike, thank you so much. This was awesome.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys. I appreciate your generosity and your sharing your knowledge with me.
Yeah, that's what we're about. So I will reach out to you via email. We'll get those flows from you. I'll stick that into
the show notes.
The show notes. Well, we in our learning management system, which we use Kajabi, so this kind of goes in for the rest of the community, and then we kind of just lay out things that were talked about, and then resources. So anyone who wants to go back and check out the resources can do that, and anyone who wasn't here can watch it, which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Cool. If everybody has 30 seconds, I'm going to show you one more cool thing you can do in Grading.
All right. Go. You see, we do geek out.
We do. This is because we're all geeks here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop this recording. And as soon as I do, all of my, so this is Grain on the web. You can take it on the desktop or you can take notes on the web. So these are the moments that I have promoted from like notes into highlights. And one of the things I've been doing lately is one of the things I've been doing lately is turning all of those highlights into stories. So instantly, these are high signal moments. And while again, it's not perfect, but it's good enough that if I were to just like create a few more, I could turn a few more of these into highlights and say these are things that someone who wasn't here would likely find valuable, because I found them valuable. It's from my perspective, at least, because I couldn't really find the things I was saying I couldn't make those notes on those because I'm talking, right? But I can turn these moments that you guys were talking into value. And I just click this story button, and now it will create like an Instagram story style summary of just the highlight moments. So it turns this hour-long thing into 4 minutes, and I can add and rewind and remove and add sections and add narrative. And then when you were talking about like Kajabi and your LMS, including a link to almost like the trailer of the highlights of like, how much time do you have? You got 60 minutes, you got 4 minutes. Well, if you got 4 minutes, go and grab this. And if that intrigues you, then the whole 60-minute thing is over here. And so there's just yet another opportunity, as you were talking about Kajabi and CMS, I wanted to share.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that is so true, especially because so many of our people are skimmers. I'm always like, we got to create content for the skimmers. So it allows you to skim video.
Content for the skimmers. I like it. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time and your generosity, and we'll figure out a way to be helpful to each other going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll figure out a way that, I know you guys want some more user feedback, and these peeps are just really amazing, especially because everyone here tends to be kind of like first adopters.
Jump in that Slack community, and we can include that in the show notes, and we can all hang out and chat in there.
That would be awesome. All right, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. Thank you so much.